Today's guest is a native comedian, a writer, a storyteller, a funny person, and an even greater man. I had no idea I was going to meet this person. And that I think that's how things just come about sometimes. I was sitting out of sweat and I was just having great conversations, and all of a sudden I was talking to a native comedian. Something that I've always admired. He's traveled the world and he's done even more greater things. Today's guest is Dennis Claus. I had a really good time, and that sweat that you when you were putting in those rocks, it was one of the hottest sweats I've been in, and I don't think I ever thanked you, but thank you for that. If I didn't thank you,
no problem.
Back there, but it meant a lot.
I always feel I feel it's an honor to be the doorman, the one that helps bring everything in. I love it. I pray the whole time and do the best job I can.
Yeah. So have you been doing that for a while? Have you been putting on sweats?
Well, since I was about 15, my dad used to do sweats all the time, and I used to work the door for him.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd go different places, and everybody wanted to do sweats, so I was the one that was always doing the door.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. I just enjoyed it, and I do sweats now and again, but I enjoy the door more.
Yeah.
I just feel it's honorable to be the one that helps out.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been the person who's done the rocks or the grandfathers before, and I think there's something about when you say, all right, I'm closing the door, I feel like that's really powerful, just to see someone, whoever's doing it, to me always kind of hits me, because I'm in there, thinking, praying hard already, and to see someone's out there, watching over us is really cool, and I had a really good time. I can't wait I'll be back in New York, actually. Today is the 10th. I'll be back in
10th.
Yeah, today's the 10th. I'll be back on the 27th. So I'll be back pretty soon.
Wow. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice to be home. And so I'm guessing is home where we were over near Buffalo? Is that home for you, or is home?
Yes.
Where's home?
Yeah, this is my dad's reservation.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up on here. My dad and Quinna's grandfather were brothers.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we're related.
Oh wow.
Yep.
It's a big family. You got. I love it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, so as as somebody who knows that you've told me that you've been across the country and you've
Yeah.
Do you believe that there is a big difference between the East Coast and West Coast? Because I did feel there's a different feeling on definitely the East Side for me.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And what do you think the big difference is? Like, obviously, there's time zones and weather, but what is it to you?
The weather.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the weather change because we get a certain temperature here and humidity where like out west you don't get that. And California is different, and like where you're from, it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot more rain than I would be used to. I'd be more depressed, and I think with the West Coast is just different than the East Coast. I don't know. I couldn't put the finger on it, but yeah, I believe there's a difference.
Oh yeah, I mean, huge difference. I mean, I look at it. I'm stuttering because I'm looking outside and I have the window open and it's just snowing. It's November. It's like it's got to be a little bit. I don't know what to think because I'm so used to rain.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's almost 80 here. That's unseasonably hot.
Yeah, in November too, and like I've known,
Yep.
I've heard that, Buffalo is the biggest place of snow in the in the country. It's it gets the most amount.
Oh yeah.
So it's like it almost feels like it's reversed.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. 'Cause sometimes it's funny because in Niagara Falls here there'll be no snow, and in Buffalo there'll be 3 to 6 feet, and then a week later there's 3 to 6 feet here, and there's nothing in Buffalo. and Buffalo's only half an hour away.
So you think that just goes to say because of the water, like around the Niagara Falls, like it's harder to,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
We're in right between two major bodies of water, so it depends on what direction the wind is going. It picks water up off of the lake called lake effects and dumps the snow on us.
Oh, wow.
So if it's coming from Lake Erie, it dumps in Buffalo. When it comes from Lake Ontario, it dumps in Niagara Falls.
Oh my, yeah. I went and saw, I think Lake Ontario, what's the one, is it Fort Lewis? Is that the fort that's over there? Is it,
Yeah, that's Fort Niagara.
yeah, Fort
And
Niagara.
that's Lake Ontario.
Lake Ontario. Me and Quinn went over there to check that out, and I've never seen a
Yep.
lake so big. I mean,
Oh yeah, you can't see the other side. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
it doesn't even feel like I was telling her, I was like, it doesn't even feel like that's a lake to me because I'm so used to
No.
lakes where I could see the other side,
Yes.
And
Yes.
it was I mean, when people say the Great Lakes, I mean, I get it now. I would always just kind of see them in pictures, but you can't really put that feeling in pictures to me, at least.
When you can't see the other side, it feels like an ocean.
It does, and it has like a wake too. It has like a wake to it. Like lakes, are still, and that one it just looks like there's waves coming, and it was really cool to go see that. But what I want to get into, because we're big comedy guys, and actually you've been doing stand up comedy for a long time, and I wanted to ask about kind of just in depth, because we talked at the Sweat about where you've been, where you haven't been, but if you would like to share that again, I'd love to hear it all over again, and what your favorite spots were, any hecklers, I'm really interested in comedy, and it was crazy to see that you were right there, a stand-up comedian, and you're native, and that meant a lot more to me than a lot of the comedians I see nowadays, because it's harder to connect with them, and just through your stories and what you've said, it was really awesome to hear. So yeah, how was it? What is it like, from then to now?
Do you want to know now, or
Yeah.
you want to do it when you're recording? Are we recording now?
Yeah. Oh no, we're recording. We've been recording this whole time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay. Okay. When I first got into comedy back in '98, this is years ago. I was in school in Oklahoma, and we used to fly down to Texas to my friend's aunt's house. She would let us stay there for the weekend. And when we were there was like an open mic night at a bar we used to go to, and we used to go hang out there. And the open mic night, they had some singers, they had some comedians. My friends were always telling me, they were like, "You're funnier than these guys. You're funnier than these guys." And on a dare, I went up and grabbed the microphone and I told a couple jokes, and I got some laughs, and I got off stage, and it was fun. And the next week when we went back, I was a little more prepared, and I had just a little bit of a show to go do. And then when I get off stage, I was like, man, that was fun. So I did it. That time I did it sober. First time I did it a little buzzed up. So the third time I went back, I had a whole routine ready, and I was totally sober, saying, I want to know if it was just me being buzzed up or not. So I got on stage, open mic, and I killed it. And it was so much fun. I just couldn't get over how much fun it was just to get on stage. And as I was getting off stage, and it was the third time I was there, from this little bar in the middle of nowhere in Texas, Patoka Springs, Texas, I believe it was. And the owner came up and he handed me something, and I looked down and it was $15. And I was looking at him like, what is this? And he goes, I'm going to pay you. I want you to take out of your mind that you can't be a comedian. I don't want you thinking that you couldn't do it because I already paid you. So therefore you are a professional comedian because you have been paid. And
wow.
It just amazed me. Like, oh my God, I thought this was awesome. I thought I could do this. I mean, I loved it. It was so much fun. I've never had anything feel as good like that. It was like, oh my God, it was so much fun. So I got on a debate team at school, and I did speaking all over the place. And as I was doing speaking, I would tell people I was a comedian. And as I was doing talks for our schools and different districts and everything, I found that they were always looking for comedians for different small little shows, little events, get paid here. Some of them were just donations for time to get on stage. And I did little shows after shows after shows. And then I got met a couple other comedians, and they were showing me the ropes, how to go to comedy clubs, how to sign up, how to get on tours and do tours with other comedians. Because when you get in with a group of a couple people, you ride share, stay at the same place. You live that life, and it's a hard life because to get going, you get like 3 to 7 minutes. When you first start going, and then if you get a little bit better, then they bump you up to 15 minutes, and after sometimes you get up to half an hour. Depending if you're killing it, they don't try to wave you off stage. They let you stay on, or if you're just killing it and having a really good time. But once you make it, that's when you get a headliner show of more of like an hour long. Mm-hmm. Now it is hard to make people laugh for an hour straight. I couldn't get that much material. So what I did is I stopped and I was watching the different types of comedians because I didn't want to do this all over again where I had to build your name up and get an audience. So I was thinking, well, how could I be a headliner and not have a big name? Mm-hmm. And then I bumped across, I researched all the comedians I could, and I come across Hypnosis, a comedy hypnotist. And I was like, I could do that. So I looked into schools to see if there were schools that taught hypnosis. And there is schools. There's schools in California, New York, Minnesota. And the school I went to was an online school, and I learned how to hypnotize people and bring them on stage and have a whole show set up. And you could do an hour-long show with just hypnosis. And the people are the funny ones. And you can be funny because I was, I had my little routines that I would go through. And you could have a whole hour show. Wow. And I could headline without a major name because there's no major people that are hypnotists their name is out there. Not like ventriloquists. You think ventriloquists, mm-hmm. There's Terry Fader and the other ones. And you got other comedians, other stand-up comedians. They have their names for themselves, but there's none that are hypnotists that are headlining, except like Vegas. They have a few people there. But that's how I got into it. And I would do tours all over the country, and it was so much fun, but it was so hard. It's so hard because you make just enough money to get to the next place, and just enough money to get to the next place, and just enough money. And once in a while, you catch a break, and you do somebody will say, well, we need a comedian for this show tomorrow night. Can you be here? Like, sure, I'm here anyways for the week. So you go there and you do a side show, get a couple $100 extra, and it's just very gratifying to get these shows from here and there. Just unique. It's a unique lifestyle that it was very hard. Some comedians make it, and it's just like nothing to them. But other ones, they work real hard for years and years and years, and they still didn't make it to big headliners.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like they only have like the 15-minute show. I think that was genius of you to do the hypnosis route, because I look at it like I'm going to connect it to the podcasting world. In podcasting, like I can bring people on, and like I have you on, and you're able to share this amazing story. But like some people will have people call in, like, oh, hey, Dom, I need advice on this. And that gives you an opportunity to let the person, like you did with the people, the hypnosis, to be the subject of the funny.
Yeah.
And I think that is really smart in stand-up comedy, because I've watched a numerous amount of stand-up specials on Netflix or on YouTube. And you're right. Mm-hmm. As a fan of a guy who just loves comedy, I haven't, got on a stage, but I've, this podcast is, I make people laugh on here and stuff, but it's hard for me to sit there for an hour, and for you to analyze that and to, just say, hey, I'm going to do this route too. I think it's really cool. So after hypnosis, was that where you're like, okay, I'm going to stick with this? Or did you kind of go, okay, I want to do just stand up now? Or was hypnosis kind of the thing from then on?
Well, a little bit of both. I was trying to build up my name as a stand-up comedian, mm-hmm. and doing the hypnosis thing so I could make it a lot easier to headline and get paid a lot more. Like I said, as the 7 to 10 minute shows, the very beginning ones, they're paid so small compared to the other headliners. You know, you're talking $50 versus $200, and $200 twice a week is $400 a week. That's sustainable. But when you're making $100, literally $100 a week, and you have to survive enough to get to the next place. But most comedy places, comedy clubs, they have apartments, and these apartments, what they do is the comedian comes in and they stay in the apartment. So you eat there, you sleep there, and you do the show that week, and the next week you get in the car, take off to the next comedy club the next week, wherever the next town is.
So do you think comedy clubs are making a good, you think they're making a killing? Because at this point, I mean, you know, they're getting apartments for you guys, which I'm pretty sure is cheaper than getting hotels for the comedians, right?
Yep.
And
yes, very much so.
Very much so. And, you know, for them to put you in there, you get, you know, a bathroom, kitchenette, you know, and all that good stuff. But I mean, or in the later years, I feel like, wow, comedy clubs were probably scraping by just as much as you comedians were, right? Or do you think they were?
Yeah, well,
yeah, go ahead.
Nowadays, right now during COVID time, it is everybody's having a hard time. There's so many people, like comedy clubs, bars, restaurants are all having a hard time right now because they want to keep people safe. They don't want to hurt nobody, and they also want to sustain and keep their employees working. So it's so hard right now as a comedian to be out there. Now, luckily, as a comedian, you also have online and you have videos. Where we didn't have that when I first got in. Internet was just something they talked about. I never even seen online. And now you can have your own podcast, your own show, your own videos, and I think it's a great opportunity to try out your material, because when you're doing comedy at comedy clubs, you're feeding off the audience, and you'll have one joke, and you're telling that same joke every 2 or 3 times a week, and you're telling that same joke over and over and over, and you're trying different ways to see if I raise it or I raise my voice or lower my voice or pause or hesitation. You're trying the joke. Well, with online, it's a lot harder because you don't have that immediate reaction. So it's harder in one way and it's better in another, where you can get a much bigger audience, much faster audience, and you can be blown up overnight over the one right video.
Oh yeah, one right post will get you. You know, you could get I brought this guy up in my last podcast, but do you know that dog face guy, that native guy who was he did like a native video on TikTok and it went viral. Long story short.
Yeah.
And now he's like hanging out with Wiz Khalifa and all these like big stars. Like it takes one thing. And back then in your day, you know, to go back to a bar or a club that you were at, one good joke would get, you know, the room laughing, but you know, it wouldn't get you hanging out with Wiz or, you know, like it's
absolutely
different era. It's a different era of comedy. And so right now as a comedian, it's slow for you, I'm guessing. But you're taking the steps right now. Like, look, you're on this podcast, and I'm pretty sure there's probably a lot of comedians out there that are like, I'm just sitting there, but you're out there taking action. And I think that's what is separating you from them right now. To me, you know, I'm not, you know, this isn't the biggest podcast in the world, but hey, you're out here exercising, you're telling your story. And I think that's really cool to me.
Well, I remember I told you that I was at a show where I had to do 20 minutes of stand-up for a elders and youth conference. And I got there and I did it and I made a few $100 and I was, you know, excited. It was good money.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I don't stay backstage. I just leave the clubs. And this was like a conference. And I just happened to stay backstage, just hanging out after my show was done. And some lady walked up and she says, "Is there anybody that's a speaker here?" And I learned a long time ago, you throw your hat in there for anything they have until you find out more information. And I just said, I've done some speaking. And she says, well, we need a speaker. Our speaker that was coming in, his flight got postponed twice and it finally got canceled. And we know for sure he's not going to make it. And I says, okay, what is the topic? She says, alcohol and drug addiction. And I says, well, I'm an alcoholic and an addict in recovery. And I wrote a book called Clean, Sober, and Native. And she says, "Oh my goodness, it'll be for 45 minutes. Is there any way you could do it? But we could only pay you $1,500."
Oh.
And yeah, I was like I hemmed and hawed for a minute, thinking maybe she'll say more. But it was finally I was like, yeah, I could. I'm already here. Might as well do it. So that's what I did. I jumped at the opportunity, and I got on stage, and it was wonderful because I could do my comedy, I could do my funny, but I didn't have to be funny the whole time. I found out there's so many people that are scared to speak in public, that people that do speak in public get paid a lot of money, a lot, way, way more than a comedian does. Well, not all comedians, but for the most part. And there's a lot of people that talk on different topics. Like me, I'm an alcoholic and an addict in recovery, and I can speak on that. You could at the drop of a dime. And if they says, "Wait, we need somebody for 20 minutes," I was, "Okay, no problem. I got you." Go up and just tell my story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's wonderful that you can do comedy, because I would love to have somebody to help get their career going, to teach them all the little things I've learned over the years. If you get into speaking, they can still do their comedy, but when you're doing speaking, it's taken as a much more serious, it's like a much more serious business than a comedian. So, I just would like to help somebody. And the funny thing is, where I met you,
mm-hmm.
I just prayed the night before, and I says, I am ready for a change. I want something different. I would like to. Then I prayed. I would like to get a little more famous again, because I enjoyed it. I loved being recognized. That was so much fun. It's happened a few times, and it was so much fun. And I said, I would love to get back into podcasts and doing interviews and get back into writing. And the next day I met you. And I said, I said to the creator, loud and clear, got you on that one. Got you on that one. Thank you.
It was, to interrupt you, sorry about that, but I was sitting there because me and Quinn and I were doing homework, and I told Turin, your brother, that I was going to be there a little bit early, because I was like, I'll go help, go be around there. I haven't been to a sweat early. So I was like, I'll go there early. And then you were there. And then he kind of said, my brother is a comedian, and it just like, I even said this even to myself before I went out to New York, I'm like, I just kind of sat on it and prayed on it, lit some sage. And I do that sometimes where, you just got to kind of just sit there and just ask for help. And I was like, my podcast, I want to have more diverse guests, and not in a bad way. I love every guest I've had so far, but like somebody I don't even know, because most of the podcast guests I know. And,
yes.
I learned to know you when I was there, but you know what I mean? Like I've talked to a lot of people, and I've like, I got a podcast, and a lot of people say, wow, cool. And then it kind of just goes on, but it felt right to say, hey, I have a podcast. You should come on. It didn't even cross my mind, and then you jumped on it too, because it was nice, because a lot of people just kind of, hem and haw and like, oh yeah, I'll come on the show, and then they expect me to do everything, and they don't even return a text, and, or I've, had it planned, and then last second they pull out. But it was refreshing for you to be like, all right, 2 hours from now, I'm ready. And I think it's really cool that you've written a book, multiple books. And for somebody who I recently got introduced to Al-Anon meetings, like I was telling you.
Yes.
And those are really impactful. And as a person who hasn't touched alcohol or hasn't touched any of that stuff, I've learned through experiences of others around me and these meetings. And to me, to see that you've, gone the comedy route, which is the route I want to go into, and the AA route too. And you're native too. It's like I don't know. It was almost like a perfect recipe for this podcast.
Yes. That's why I said I wanted somebody to teach me how to do podcasts. Mm-hmm. Like I said, the day before I prayed, and I says, I don't know exactly what I want, but the Creator does. I said, so I'm leaving it up to you. You just help guide me the right way. And I met you the next day. I was like, I was telling my brother. Mm-hmm. I says, I think online is amazing for comedians. I don't know if do you know Aunt Beatrice?
Who?
Aunt Beatrice,
Nope.
the comedian.
Nope.
No, she's on YouTube, and she's a native comedian that does these short little videos.
Oh, I think
And she's on YouTube.
Is she the one on Facebook
And,
too?
yep.
Yeah,
Aunt
I know who that
here.
is.
Okay, yeah. Well, what she does, I thought was amazing. She's got her little following. She has maybe 15,000 people, which is online is really small, like tiny. And if you look at it, when she goes and she finds different native centers that are going to be hiring comedians, or they get a hold of her being a comedian, and then she talks to them. She was telling me that what she'll do is she'll say, even if you've never heard of me, ask your kids if they want Aunt Beatrice to come. And when the people from different tribes, they go and they ask their kids are like, Aunt Beatrice is coming, they get all excited because they know who she is, even just because of their small, very niche market. I think it's just amazing. She gets so many speaking, and then she helps other female native comedians to get their careers going. It's like, oh, how wonderful!
Isn't that crazy? I keep comparing eras here because you were in head first in the old era, and now you're in the new era right now. But back then you weren't able to be like, hey, online you're able to create a demographic, you're, like you said, a niche market. You're able to have those native kids who like your content and they're going to support it, or natives. But back then you'd go to a bar in Tennessee, you probably wouldn't even see a single native out there, So now it's like, with online, you're able to cater towards an audience, and then it makes it easier for when you do. I'm not saying it's all easy because but you know what I'm saying. It's easier to.
Oh no, it makes it a lot. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah,
and it's a platform that I didn't have. I wish I would have had, but it's okay. I learned a lot from the old way.
Yeah,
and this new way, it's like so wonderful, so exciting. It's so big, and you get so many opportunities. I remember I got a speaking job, not as a comedian, at a conference, a youth conference up north, and it was the most legal money I've ever made in my entire life. I made $4,450 in 45 minutes.
Oh my God!
I made almost $100 a minute legally, and I was like, "This is wonderful." I said, "I want to do this. If I could do this every week, I'd be just in heaven." But you have to build your whole audience of what market you want to go after. What name do you want? Do you want to be the sober and alcohol and drug guy, or what era do you want? Do you want young people, older people, online, offline?
Oh yeah, the target audience. Yeah, nowadays it's easier to hit. Because now, if you say for instance, I was doing that and I had this comedy career, and I had maybe 10,000 followers, but you go to a casino or something, and the room fills 200, people are going to fill that up for you, if you have a good online following, and that's what helps, I think. And it's brand new, and to see that you also with the speaking route is really inspirational too, because it's crazy. I said, who's your favorite speaker? And then, I'm pretty sure a lot of people say Les Brown, but you said Les Brown, and he's my favorite speaker too. And
he's one of mine.
That guy,
he's so inspirational.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. He had this, inspirational, you've probably heard it, where he talked about, he tried buying his mom a house, and then there was like what do you call it? Something on the house. It's like something, there's a lien against the property. And he talked about what it was like, telling his mom like, hey, we have to move. And it was really inspirational how he got through that. It was a low point. And to see that you said, hey, comedy is comedy. But to make someone laugh for an hour is hard. But if you can branch into the speaking community and make people laugh at the same time with showing that message, like in the things you've written from your book, Clean, Sober, Native, is that the title of it? just one
Yep.
of them.
Yep.
You know, if you could
Yep.
just,
Is one of them.
and then, you know, then it even translates into, I know it's not about that, but it translates into people, oh, I'm going to read the book too. You know, it's,
Hmm.
speaking is a amazing business. And I feel like even with, this podcast too, it's, you know, it's funny and then it has its serious moments. Like 2 episodes ago, it broke me down. I was just thinking about, you know, how amazing it's come so far. And, um, I think speaking is amazing. And I think you're right with what you said about, um, people are just afraid to get on stage, and that's the number one
Oh,
thing.
they are. Oh, they are. Like so many people, I've been paid so many times because people are just terrified to get on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, well, give me the microphone, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You only need somebody for an hour. It's like, all right, and I'll just grab the microphone and start talking with no preparedness, no nothing. Just start talking. It's
Oh yeah.
nice and simple.
To translate
And
that.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting and fun, and I love the thrill. I remember one time I was at a show in Tennessee, actually, and I was doing this nightclub for 3 weeks in a row. It was the second time I was there for three different weeks. And the second week I was there, I was so arrogant and cocky that I didn't practice the day before.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember getting on stage and not practicing what it's like, oh, I got it down cold, I'm good, I'm this, I'm that. I usually always ran through my whole routine before I get on stage. Well, I got on stage and talked for probably 2 minutes, and somebody slammed the door, and I turned my head, and that quick, I lost it. I didn't remember nothing.
It hit you.
And luckily, because I was just like, I could talk. I can keep talking. I have no problem with that. The problem is I was in a routine where I know this is how you start. This is what it goes to next to next A, B, C, D. Well, I was on B and I totally lost it. And I was trying to get back to where it's like, and in my head, I'm running into, okay, A is, and I'm going back and trying to speak to everybody while I'm in my head trying to remember where I was at. When I finally caught up to where I was at, it just sounded like, oh yeah, I forgot. B for,
Mm-hmm.
And then I got back on her. So after that, I said, I wasn't going to take that for, I wasn't going to be arrogant and no more. I'm going to make sure before I get on stage, if I have to do a run through one more time, I do it now. I make sure I have what I need. You see, before I get on stage, before I ever get on stage, I used to have to go in the bathroom, someplace private, dressing room or whatever, and then I'll hype myself up over and over and over again. And to a person that doesn't know what we're talking about, you're speaking to yourself and say, you're going to be funny. You're going to make these people laugh. You're going to do everything you can. They're going to find your humor. You're funny. And you're yelling at yourself, hyping yourself up, getting that energy flowing, getting everything. Okay, it's going to come to you. It's going to come as easy. It's going to be fun, so much fun. And if somebody walked into the bathroom and they just see some guy screaming at himself in the mirror, they think he's nuts. But I was hyping myself up. I mean, I didn't care about them. I don't care about you right now. I had to hype myself up so I could remember. I could access everything that I had to remember. I always liked my routines. I loved my routines because they were funny, and I knew what parts would always get a good laugh, and it was so much fun. Like I said, I'm an alcoholic and an addict in recovery, and I did all kind of drugs, and nothing compares to being on stage and killing it. Not one drug I've ever tried compares to being on stage and killing it. It is a high that I can't even explain. I mean, it's just so much fun and exciting and exhilarating, and I just absolutely love it. And that's why I said I wanted to get into speaking, for the simple fact is you can be funny and you can do your comedy, but you don't have to be funny the whole time. You can just simply be a storyteller and tell stories. See, when I was a kid growing up here on the reservation in New York State, I wanted to be a storyteller. And I was getting, 7th grade. I remember my teacher was asking me what I wanted to be, and I said storyteller. And then I realized, like, at the time, I was like, there's no such thing as a storyteller. So I put cook, like be a chef. And it was funny that years later I realized that storytellers are very, very crucial. They're speakers, they're comedians, they're people that interview people. they're storytellers when they can tell a nice, beautiful story. Oh, just wonderful. To have I've been on stage and I was telling stories, and there's this. Well, you've heard that story. When I turn my head and I look down the pathway and I point with my hand, and on stage, and I bend over like I'm looking down the pathway, and I look in the audience and I see audience members turn their head and look. I know I have their imagination so precise that they're looking down the pathway with me. Oh, it's just absolutely wonderful. I've truly had a blessed life. I've had so much fun being a comedian, being a speaker, being an author. I've done movies and commercials, ordained minister, iron worker, model. I've done street performing.
Oh yeah.
I tried doing that. That was fun. It's called busking, being a busker. And those are street performers, the ones that get work and they get paid. If they're any good, they'll get $1 here, $1 there. The ones that are no good get nothing. It's simple as that. When I was living in New York City, I was there for about 10 years. And when I was there, one day I was out of work, I had nothing to do. So I went and got my outfit and my regalia, and I brought that down there, and I put it on, and I went down to Times Square, and I just smiled, and people were like, "Can I get a picture with you, sir?" And they give me $1 here, $1 there. And by the end of the day, I made $100. Totally legal, totally legit, no problem. And I didn't have to do nothing, just smile, get the picture taken. And the people from other countries were so nice. They were like, "Oh, we never met a real Indian before." It was cool because they didn't think they'd ever meet an Indian in New York City. And then the rudest people were Americans, of all people. They were not all of them were, but the ones that were rude were always American.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, I've been told, I haven't really been outside of the country other than, Vancouver, which is near our reservation.
Yeah.
But I've heard, people who travel, they're like, just say you're Canadian, because people figure out you're American, they're going to be rude to you. And it goes to show you've been across the country, you've been places, and I'm sure as well as anybody that we are rude here.
Yep.
And it's crazy to see that, we can't even get along within our own people. We even seen this in the election. We've seen our own people going at each other's throats for policies. And, I'm not a big politics guy, but it's crazy to see that it's easier for us to create enemies within ourselves than other people. I mean, you're out here, just trying to make your ends meet, trying to just do this, and people are being rude. Like, come on, man. Like, keep walking. You don't, it takes more effort, I feel like, to stop and be rude to you in Times Square than to just, it's like, is your life really that hard where you got to translate that onto me? And that's what I think. And I forgot to ask you when I was there. So your books are on Amazon, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Amazon.
Because
under Dennis Claus, and
I'd love to read one, because I know you said you wrote multiple.
Yeah.
But I didn't know where to start. And like you said, you're like, the first one was just not your greatest piece. So would you say your latest one?
No. But I wanted.
Is your best one?
My best one, clean, sober, and native. It was raw. I specifically left it more raw than to get it as much as when you're writing a book, you have your editors, of course, and make sure your grammar and your spelling's done, that everything's done right. And then you got your people that are editing it, and then you got people formatting it. Well, with the editing, I just says make sure it flows. I just don't correct everything, because I want it to be raw. I want my story to be my story, not a prettied up version of it. I just wanted it to be raw, so I left it raw.
So,
but
if you don't mind, I don't know how long you got, and let me know if you have anything planned. But
no, nothing.
Okay, I want to pick your brain about the book writing process.
My goodness, I love that.
You did?
Oh my God, okay. You see, God, the Creator, Tungudisa, whatever you choose to call him, gave me an unbelievable gift. And I have this wonderful gift. And this gift is so precious. And people that get this gift don't even know it's a gift. They have this and they think it's a bad thing. You see, my gift that the Creator gave me is I'm stubborn. Yep, stubborn. That's what the big thing is I was told I can't do something, so I would do it. And I would fight for it, to work really hard at something to prove to myself, not to the other person who told me I couldn't do it, that I could do it. And so I would write. When I first did my first book, it was horrible. Just, oh my goodness, they're just embarrassingly bad. But I wanted to take out that block in my head that I couldn't do it. So after I wrote the first one, I put it out there. It sold one copy. I pulled it right back out. And I said, okay, let me work on my second one. So I worked on my second one. And I did this in the first one took like 2 years. The second one took about a year. And I didn't realize how easy it was when you have a formula on how to write a book. You see, when I finally got down to the end, the last book that I just wrote a few years back, it took me from the day I decided to write this book to the day I had a paperback copy in my hand was 31 days.
Wow.
31 days I had a paperback copy in my hand because I knew how to make it a little bit faster, a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit better. So after 14 books, I got pretty good at it. And I knew what the formula is to get your book out there and how to write a book, how to format it, and how to hire other people to do things for me that I don't like to do, like the grammar and the spelling and all that stuff. I don't like to do that. And when I'm writing, when you start writing, one of the tricks is you don't correct your spelling. You don't put periods and all the grammar, all that, just the punctuation, just leave it alone. Just one sentence, just keep going. Let it flow, let it flow, let it flow. I remember my girlfriend, Heather, I asked her, I said, could you correct this for me, honey? She said, sure. Before I sent it to the editors, I gave it to her just for the spelling correction, the grammar. She's looking at it, and she comes back, and she says, I always thought you were good at grammar. I was like, no, horrible. Why? She goes, did you realize your first sentence was 2 paragraphs long? I was like, no, no. So that's what she did. She corrected all my grammar. So it was just one long run-on sentence for 2 paragraphs. I said, and that's fine as long as you're getting it out there. Now I record myself now, and what I do is I record myself and I send it to a transcriptionist. The transcriptionist sends it to the person who does the grammar, and after the grammar person goes to the editor. After the editor goes to the formatter comes back to me.
Wow. And
I pay those people to get those parts done because they're good at that part. I'm not good at that part. There's certain things I'm not good at, and that's fine. Like book cover, don't ever chintz out on a book cover. So many people make the mistake of they work so hard, get blood, sweat, and tears into their book, and then they think that they're just going to create their own cover or have somebody do it for a couple bucks and literally chintz out on it. When that is they say don't judge a book by its cover, but people do judge a book by its cover. Because if you had 3 books sitting there and it's all in the area you wanted to read about, and there's 3 of them, and 2 of them look cheap and chintzy and like a high schooler made them, and there's one professional looking one, which one are you most likely going to buy if they're all the same price?
Yeah, the professional
You're most likely going to buy the one that looks professional. So you have to make sure when you're doing the book, make sure that the cover hire a professional. It's only a couple $100 for a good cover. You can actually I can't think of it. 50 Shades of Grey.
Mm-hmm.
E.L. James, her name is. Mm-hmm. Well, when she got her book cover made, the guy who does it, he did my book covers too.
Oh, wow.
So I had the same guy that E.L. James did. Yep. Yeah, so I didn't even know about it till after.
Did you email him, or did your connections with?
Oh no. How'd that go? Well, you know what, Elance and those freelance websites.
Fiverr.
Where you can hire freelancers. Yeah, well, not just Fiverr, but the more big ones, because Fiverr is more a smaller one. Mm-hmm. But these ones are much bigger. You pay a lot more, but you get a much more professional.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, much more professional one.
Oh yeah, freelancing.
Nothing wrong with Fiverr, but I will not. I got with the guy I like, and I let him make my covers, and he makes really nice covers. And I asked him, I said, well, maybe 2 or 3 to pick from. He says, okay. I said, this is what I kind of like. This is what also I like, and you throw whatever you think. So he'll pick one I like, another one I like, and then the last one, what he thinks my book cover should look like. And a couple times I picked his cover where it was like I would have never picked that, but it was beautiful, absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the first thing I look at when I look at books too. Like for instance, I'm looking at it's crazy to we say that we all everybody's probably heard don't judge a book by its cover, but we all do it.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely,
it's just always going to happen. And
yeah,
I mean books go way back, man. I mean that's I think what's so powerful about them is that it's physically in your hand. There's something about writing on your phone or talking to your phone and having this podcast audio, but like when you have something physical, like I just made these I should have gave you a podcast sticker, but I didn't bring one to the sweat. It's just cool to have something physical to give someone that's your show, or even a business card, or that show. It means a lot. And
yes,
especially in a world of storytelling, we give that feeling, but we never have a physical feeling,
Yeah. I love my brothers. I have 3 brothers and a sister. Now, one of my brothers is a very nice guy. He's a very honest man. He thinks what he thinks is right. What he believes is right. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I wrote my book, Clean, Sober, and Native, I didn't tell him. And then I come to him and I says, hey, brother, I decided I was going to write a book. And he says, do you know how hard that would be? Did you know if you even found somebody that would publish it, do you know what the chances of you getting it published and doing it? Do you know how hard that would be? And he told me all the bad things that could possibly happen. When he finally got done, I says, are you done? He says, yeah. I says, good. I reached down into my duffel bag and I pulled out a copy of my book and I handed it to him. I says, here's your copy of my book.
Wow.
And I love that look on his face. So, oh my God. And he says, does anybody else in the family know? I says, everybody knows. But I wouldn't tell him because I shielded myself from negativity. Not that he was a negative person. He's a realist. So he believes what his perception of what you can and can't do. Or my other brothers are like, yes, you can do it. You can do it. My sister says, you can do anything you set your mind to. Of course. With him, he told me every excuse not to do it. But I love the look on his face when I handed him a copy of my book. Oh, it was priceless. I absolutely love one of my favorite moments in life. When you're writing a book, you should have an end goal. Now, whether your goal is to go to your website or go on your podcast or whatever, you should have an end goal in your book to go to it. Go to what's the next step? What is the next step that you want them to do? Now, let's say I want them to hire me to help them, coach them through writing a book. Like I've coached a few people. And I said, it's nice and simple. I said, first we start off with a story. What you do is the first chapter, I like to have your story of why you're writing this book. That way people can get a better understanding of, okay, I see why he wrote this book. Okay. It's like, well, I felt wonderful to have people say, you're an author? And I say, yeah. And they're like, I says, I've written over 14 books. And that look on their face is priceless. Oh, people that don't think highly of you, don't think you can do much, are floored. And the next thing you do is you put an outline of how you want your book to go. What do you want them to learn? How do you want them to learn it? What will change in the end from reading this book? What will you learn? Will you learn how to edit it? Will you learn how to get copies cheaper? I mean, whatever your choice is for writing the book, you should have an end goal. So that's what I start with, is the end goal. And your marketing starts before you start writing the book, because you can start asking people questions like, hey, I'm thinking about writing a book, and I was going to be about how to write a book. What do you think? What would you want to know? And people will ask you questions. You can write them down and record them if you can. And you can literally get great content for your book for them, because that's exactly what they want. It's like, oh, I've always wanted to know how to get a publisher. Other people are like, I don't want a publisher. I want to do it myself and keep all the money. Because if you get a book deal, let's say you get $100,000 you sell 100,000 copies with a traditional publisher, you might get 25 cents on the dollar.
Wow.
So you get $25,000. But if you sold that same 100,000 books and sold it for $10 a piece, you would actually keep $1 million. Well, after paying for the book itself, you pay $3 to $4, so it's $600,000.
Wow.
Yeah, you make a lot more money on it, and the money is not in the books itself. The money is in the long run to have them hire you for whatever the next step is.
Oh,
you understand?
Yeah. I feel like books are definitely a good, one of the best sources of passive income other than music. You put something out there, like you said, I have 14 books, and that statement right there could get you a speaking job, a job.
Oh yeah.
And that's impactful. I know even with this podcast, I say, hey, I have a podcast, and people are like, oh, so you know how to edit. I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, can you edit this for me? And then that, this stems from a job. So I think that's what's so interesting about it. There's so many sources of passive income that people don't even really understand that it is a passive income. And like you said, if you have a plan that says, hey, do I want this to be a book or is it for like a gateway to a job? I think that's smart.
Yeah. Yeah, some people just want to tell their story and leave it for their kids or their grandkids. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. That's something that they have to, like, I want to leave a mark to say, I just to be able to say I wrote a book. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I've helped 2 people do that. I once helped this one young gentleman. He was an amazing young man. He was a homeschooler, and he wrote a book when he was 15. And I happened to catch him when he was 15 when I met him. I talked to him, and he was telling me about it, and then we both found out about I'm an author, and I wanted to help him, so I was helping him out, and I got it published. Showed him how to do it, what the best way to do it, how to get a international standard book number, ISBN, how to do this, how to do that, and I showed him all the stuff, and then I got it done, and he ended up filing for a school in California for marine biology.
Wow. And
they get like 14,000, if I'm remembering it right, 14,000 people apply for that class, trying to get in that course. And they only pick a small handful of people. Well, when he sent his application in, of course, he was homeschooled and he had great grades and everything. But what stood out was he wrote a book on marine biology when he was 15. That was published, and he sent them a copy with a letter telling them about the book. So when they got it, they had a pile of people they had to sort through and say, well, these are good grades, good grades. This kid wrote a book on marine biology when he was 15. Okay, put that in the maybe pile.
Yeah.
They put it in the maybe pile. And I believe it opened the door for him. It really, it opened, he got in, and he did that study. He graduated. He's doing great now. I gotta give him a call and see how he is.
That's so awesome. I mean, he's 15 years old, publishes a marine biology book, and then he's, it helps it not only helped him future because he wrote a book, but it got him into that next position. And I think,
yep.
You told me one other story about the lady who learned how to build a car or like fixed an engine, right?
My goodness.
It reminded me of that.
Oh my goodness, she was so wonderful. I met this woman; she was so amazing. It was just I just like was drawn to her, just like she was drawn to me. Just we're great friends. Her and her husband are good friends of mine. And what she did is she got the bright idea one day. Is she seen a car for sale? She pulled over and says, "How much?" And they said, "Well, it was a couple $100. It was a nice newer car, not new, but newer, but had a blown engine." And she says, "Oh, too bad." And she says, "Thanks." And she takes the information down. She leaves, and she goes across town, and she runs into another car, was all smashed up, the same identical car. And she pulled in there and asked about it. And the guy said, "Well, we're selling it for a few $100, but the body's no good. It's all smashed up, but the engine and transmission's good." So she thought, well, if I buy the engine and transmission from this one and the body from that one and just swap them, I could have an almost new car. So she did. She took everything she had and bought both cars and had them towed back to her house. Where her husband gets home and he goes, "What the heck did you do?" And she says, "I got the car. This one has a bad engine and a great body. And that one has a good engine and a bad body. So we're just going to take the engine out of this one and stick it in that." And he says, well, I'm not going to do it. And she says, well, then I'll do it. He says, you can't do it. You're just a woman. Oh, that's what she needed to hear. Oh, did that ever piss her off? And she tells this story, and I mean, my heart races when I talk about it. She got so mad. She was furious with him to say something like that. She went online and she found a guy that did a change the engine in his car, the same identical car that she had bought. And he showed her how to change an engine on YouTube. So what she would do, and this is the best part, she was a little bit overweight. Not a lot, just a little bit overweight. Well, she didn't have a laptop, so she couldn't watch that outside. She would go inside of her apartment, press play, press pause, and learn what bolt to take out. She'd run outside, go under the car, and take that one bolt out. Then run back inside, press play. Next bolt, take it out, press pause. Run back outside, come under the car, and take the next bolt out. And she did this bolt for bolt until she took the whole engine out of both cars, and put the new engine in the good body. And at the end, she had a nice newer car, so she paid very little money for, and she lost almost 40 pounds. She was just ecstatic. And her husband, it was the best thing because she started it up and drove it over there to show him. So it's like, oh, she's inspiring, very
and
inspiring.
proved him wrong.
You could do anything you set your mind to. You just got to follow through with and doing it.
That's so cool. And the husband was instantly ready to say you can't do it. And I think that's what makes it so amazing, is where she's like, she easily could have just said, yeah, honey, you're right. I'll go return them today. And then, then she's even worse in the situation of, man, what if, she would have had to ask herself, well, maybe if I would have, and then she wouldn't have lost that, that little bit of weight, or she learned more than just, she learned probably how to figure out things on YouTube. She learned that she can do things that people say she can't. She lost weight. There was so much more to it, like you said, than just the car. And I think a lot of people like to easily go into the fact of, oh, well, you're a guy, you can't do that, or you're a girl, you can't do that, which is, I was listening to Joe Rogan on a podcast, and he was talking about, he's like, he just put it in retrospect. He's like, say you don't know anybody and you go out to space, and nobody else knows, the social constructs of what we've had to go through before. And I know this is a big reach, but, like you go to another planet, you go to another country, you go to another state, nobody really knows who you are. So, like, why are you hanging on to that pressure of, oh, you can't do that? Because, she just said, hey, I don't care if I'm a woman, I'm gonna do it. And like you said, she has a brand new shiny car. And do you know what kind of car it was? Are you allowed to? Can you say what kind of car it was?
Nope. I know it was a 4-door car. I remember that.
Okay.
I don't want to lie to you. It was blue and it was a 4-door car. I remember that.
Hey, that's cool though. I mean,
she showed me. She said, she said, you like my car? I said, yeah. She goes, and then she told me that story. I'm like, oh my God, I love this car now.
And she probably has even a bigger attachment to it now. Like engineered this, or I put this together, I think is what makes it even prettier to me, even in the story. I'm trying to think of a situation where if that's ever happened to me. I've had some people say with the podcast, like, oh, it won't last longer than a certain amount of episodes. And, that fuels me a little bit, that stubborn part of me. I'm blessed for that. But wow, what a story. I mean, I'm just so thankful that we were able to meet in this situation. And I keep saying this, but I got to get a copy of your book. I send me a link and I'll buy it, or however I can get my hands on it, because I'd love to read it. Because to hear your story just in this, I was one of those people, in your story when you told us at the sweat about the stick, I did turn my head when you pointed. So it was I don't know if I turned when you pointed. I was definitely, there was a point where I was like, oh, he got me, and it was unconsciously.
Do you know what the biggest secret is? The biggest secret to telling a good story is when I learned this, I was amazed because it was so small and so subtle, and then when I started to use it, it worked. Not just good, but great. And the great thing about it is I'm doing it to you right now. It's curiosity. You want to know what I'm going to say next. You want to know the answer. It's like when she says, when she heard something,
Mm-hmm.
and then I pause and hesitate, and you wonder, well, what did she hear? And I say, it was beautiful, soft, and gentle. And then I pause again, and that's specifically for a reason. Everything that I do in the stories is for, I try to have the next, like, what happened? What happened? What happened? And if you do that during storytelling, you can actually keep people right on the edge of their seats the whole time. I remember I did a speech competition, and I was doing a speech competition in Texas, and there was 26 schools that entered for like academic Olympics, and I was chosen for the oratory for the speech competition, the speech part about it. And all these people went on stage before me, and everything I was going to say, literally, they said before me. And I'm looking at the stage, and I'm like, oh my God, everything I was going to say, somebody just said in front of me, because I was in the 13th spot.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the 13th spot because I got triskaidekaphobia. I got a fear of the number 13, which is, I mean, some people got Friday the 13th. They get nervous of it. Well, I was in the 13th spot, and I couldn't get over it. And I was like, oh my gosh. And they, my dean of admissions was there at the school. And he says, well, did you, are you nervous? I says, what, the speech? No. I'm a fear of the number 13. I got triskaidekaphobia, a fear of number 13. He starts laughing. He goes, why you have a fear of number 13? I says, well, you'll never guess how old I was when I became a teenager. And he started laughing. And I says, yeah, what's the chances of that happening? And he started laughing even more. And I says, maybe once in a lifetime. And he busted out laughing. Like, he goes, you got to put that in your show. And I was like, really? You wouldn't mind if I did a little bit of comedy? He goes, no, not at all. Just, be different. And I says, okay. So since everybody already said everything that I was going to say in a speech, and I was going to be plain and ordinary, just like everybody else, I decided I was just going to, I was going to be a comedian. And I went up there, had a speech, and did a speech. But I did it with comedy. And I took first place. I
Wow.
beat out 25 other students, other schools. And I took first place. And I was like standing there, I did pretty good because everybody was laughing. And when I got off stage and everybody else did their speeches to the end, and I'm listening, and this is in fifth place, fourth place, third place. And I'm thinking third place. Nope, wasn't my name. Second place. And he says, nope, wasn't my name. I was like, oh, I was so mad. I was like, man, I wanted second. I wanted at least second. And I had my head down. And then they said first place, and I didn't hear it. And my friends are shaking me. And I'm looking, I'm like, what? And there's like, you. I said, what? And they said, you. And I'm like, I can't hear you. And there's like, you won. I says, what? They says, you won. And then it finally clicked in because everybody around me was standing up and cheering. I jumped up screaming and ran on stage and grabbed the trophy. I'm holding it up, screaming and yelling like, woo! Couldn't even, I was just so excited. And if it wasn't for comedy, I would have been a plain ordinary speech, just like everybody else. But mine stuck out, where everybody else said the same basic thing over and over. Like, I'm so proud to be in school, and I do it our best of our abilities, and we can be anything we choose to. And no, mine was funny. I had a bunch of jokes in there, and they were all age appropriate, and it was great because I took first place. And it's the only trophy I still have out of all the trophies I've ever gotten through my life. Different things. That's the only one I have left. That's the only one I wanted to keep. I didn't care about the other ones, but that one I was very, very proud of because I'm an award-winning speaker. And that sounds way better than, I won a speech competition in Texas. But when you're booked as a speaker, as an author, best-selling author, Amazon best-selling author, an award-winning speaker. That sounds awesome because it's an accolade that I wanted. I wanted that. I want that. And it's true. Absolutely true. So I loved it.
I think that, I noticed that the thing is with me, and when I listen to valedictorians, like you said, it kind of becomes vanilla. It's like,
yes.
oh, you guys can do it. I had my hardships, but I went through it. And it's like, okay, can we just hear my cousin graduate already? That's what I'm here for. But like,
Yeah.
I did see a valedictorian speech. I actually still remember. It was when I was in high school, and this guy went up there and it was funny. And
Yes.
I don't really remember what he said precisely, but I remember he made it funny. And
Yeah.
it's crazy that the comedy is like the key into the world. And I think for me, for our career paths, I should say, because when I first started getting into college and stuff, and I realized I wanted to go into the comedy route with not necessarily stand up, but enter that world of careers, because there's so much in it. It's just like business. There's marketing, there's economics, there's so many fields of comedy that you could go in.
You have to have a lot of hats. You have to wear a lot of hats. You got to be the driver as well as the person that's booking everything and making sure, unless you got a manager or somebody that'll help you out. But when you get a manager, you have to pay somebody.
Yep.
And they get 10% of whatever you make, and they know if they're in there when you're not good, you're not big, you'll be. If you get big, they believe in you. When you get big, well, that's when the money will be there. And it's not like you would drop them after that. But my manager was my aunt. My aunt was so good at getting everything lined up. And she was always forever on the phone talking to people like, nope, that won't work. Nope, that won't work. Stuff that I couldn't say. She would.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nice buffer to have.
Do you think, I've listened to some interviews with some artists, and it was, I don't know if you know who Childish Gambino is. Do you know who that is? The artist?
No.
But he released a statement in a podcast, or I don't remember, interview, and he said, the best 10% I've ever given up was to my manager. And because he's like, they're somewhat removed from the situation, but they know you so well, and they'll say things you're afraid to say. They'll stick up for you, and they're always there. So I'm guessing you believe in that as well, like the 10% that you. Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely. When I was like, I would love to do that, but it's going to cost me money. If they paid for my flight in my airplane and bought me a meal, then I would do it. But I can't do it for free. Well, my aunt says, "Oh no, he doesn't do that. He donates so many talks, so many shows a year, and he already passed that limit." I tell you what, I could probably get him to do it if everything was paid for. Like everything was paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Like the hotel, the flight, everything. And they're like, "Yeah, okay, we could do that. We could get it in the budget." And then I would get it. I would get another show, another gig. So that was great because she could do that, and I wasn't good at that. She was good at that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
she was awesome.
I bet you too, as a comedy club manager, to see that you have a manager, it might even make them take. It probably gives them like, oh, this guy's legit. And that probably helped you. I mean, I'm not saying any comedian who's done it, by themselves isn't legit, but maybe to see like, oh, this guy's got a manager. It maybe it was harder for them to finagle things. Like, oh, okay, well, if I don't know, I'm just saying, I think having a manager is awesome, and I'm getting to the point with this podcast eventually, later down the road, to have a producer, help with the editings and stuff. But right now, I'm still doing that myself. But I'd love to have someone just here when I'm recording to like, talk to off camera, on camera, or have them look up something, or hey, your camera died. I'll start it up. Just take two. Because I mean, sometimes when I have guests on, little things like that come up, or someone will call me. So it's like you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And man, I'm so happy that we were able to sit down. But I got to get going here soon. But I wanted to open up the floor for like the last 10, 15 minutes. If there is anything you wanted to ask me, or if there's anything I forgot to ask that you wanted to include. So giving you the floor here.
No, I mean, I appreciate it. I'm excited. I want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to not just. I loved being a coach. I love being a speaker. But if I could do coaching, speaking, and coaching, I think that's what I would like to do more than anything. Because helping people write books, that was so exciting. That was so much fun because it wasn't as much excitement for me doing it. After a while, it got repetitious. But when you get somebody else doing it for the first time, it's exciting for them, and I feed off their energy, and I love it because it's like they're excited about it, and I want to help them like so much. So I've been coaching people with writing books. So if anybody out there needs help with their coaching, just give me a call. I can help over the phone. So,
would you mind? What contact information would should I put on for the podcast? Are you cool with the phone number or email? What's
Yeah, both. My email is dennisclause@gmail.com. That's DENNISCLAUSE@gmail.com. And my phone number, you can reach me at area code 212-810-7163. That's my voicemail number. You can reach me at that number.
Perfect. Yeah. So
know where?
Yeah, we got you down on that. And where can so on Amazon, if I look up your book, can people find it there as well?
Yep, you should be able to find it under Clean, Sober, and Native, and Dennis Claus is the author.
Right
on. Nice scenery and. Yeah.
I am so excited that we were able to sit down, and are you going to be in New York when I'm over there?
Yes, I plan to be.
Okay.
I plan to be.
If you still are,
yeah, it's my the 27th is my girlfriend's birthday, so
okay.
Other than that day, I'd love to hang out, and we should hang out and talk again.
Yeah, I'm more than happy, and I got your number, and I will definitely hit you up for some comedy tips too. I might need some comedy tips down the road.
Oh yeah, hey, if you you gotta find people around you that are willing to help you along. Because as a comedian, I know how delicate I was. Mm-hmm. I know how sensitive I was, and that hurts when somebody tells you, "Oh, dude, you weren't funny at all." Like, ooh, I mean that hurts. And when you get a heckler, and unless you can handle yourself, you know, when I was the first time I was ever heckled, thank goodness I met a guy that told me a trick he uses. And he asked if I could use that trick. He said, sure. What it was is when I got on stage, I said, don't do drugs. Don't do drugs. Oh, wait. Wrong audience. Never mind. And then I go on into my routine about moving to Tennessee and how the first few months there, I kept hearing over and over these little old ladies with him, well, bless your heart. Well, bless your heart. Well, after 3 months of being there, I finally found out what bless your heart is. It's a nice Southern way to say, you're an asshole. And it is so funny because I'm from up north and I wasn't used to that. To bless your heart is actually a slap in the face. Well, I'd be on stage and I would tell that at the beginning of my show. And the one time I got a heckler, I stopped and I looked at him and I pointed. I said, don't do drugs. Well, bless your heart. And the whole audience turned on him. It was great. And I just absolutely love it. So I've always used that. Bless your heart and don't do drugs.
So don't say bless your heart down in the South, you're saying?
Well, it's just it's like kind of an insult. Well, it's like, well, he lost his job. Well, bless his heart. You know, it's like, well, he's an idiot, but, you know, you're an idiot. Basically, you're an idiot.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
It's a nice Southern way. Yeah,
I've never been down there. I plan on going down there eventually in my life. Oh, get some food.
Oh, then when I lived in Tennessee for a few years. It was amazing. I was a heroin addict, and this is years and years and years ago. I wanted to get off the drugs, and I finally came home back to the reservation, and I asked, I said to my family, I said, would you help me to get off drugs? And they're like, yes. And I said, okay. I said, you got to take my wallet, my money, my credit cards, my everything. I said, and don't trust anything I say for at least, I'd say 3 weeks. So what they did is they sat with me as I went through withdrawals from heroin, and I cried, and I mean, it was horrible to go through all that withdrawals and everything. I finally got through it. And after about the third week, I still have not even stepped outside the door yet. Mm-hmm. And my mother, I was back home. My mom, she says, why don't you get out? I said, I can't, Mom. I don't trust myself yet. She said, well, just go check the mail. And I was like, yeah, I could do that. So I decided I was going to leave the house the first time in 3 weeks. And I'm over the DTs, but I'm not strong in the head yet. I'm physically okay, but I'm not mentally okay. So I walk outside and I walk to the road. As I'm standing there holding the mail, reading it, I hear boom, boom, boom. That was the sound of the stereo system of my drug dealer who happened to be driving by. And my heart started pounding because I didn't know if I could say no yet. By then, they gave me back my license or my wallet and my money. I had plenty of money. And my heart was pounding like, oh, my God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And as I'm staring at the mail, my hand's shaking, and he drives by and just keeps driving. Doesn't toot the horn, doesn't wave, nothing, just drives right past me. And he gets around the corner, and we're like, oh, my goodness. I was like, ran back to the house. I threw the mail on the thing, and I ran into the living room, and I was like, oh, my God, I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't know what to do. So I got down, and I got down on my knees, and I prayed. I said, please, please. I don't want to put my family through this. I don't want to go through that again. I never want to do that again. Please help me. I don't know what to do. Please help me. Amen. And as I was literally getting up off of my knees, I hear knock, knock, knock. I go and open the door, and my aunt from Tennessee, who was my manager when I was a comedian, right? Mm-hmm. She standing there, and I said, Auntie. She goes, well, I'm just passing through, heading back to Tennessee. Wanted to know if you want to move there with me. And I said, yes. Yes, I do. She goes, no, I'm serious. I said, no, I'm serious. I ran to my room, grabbed on my clothes, and told my mom, I said, I'll see you later, Mom. I love you. Bye. She goes, where are you going? I said, I'm moving to Tennessee. She says, why? I said, because I don't know anybody there. Mm-hmm. I don't know anybody, and she lives way far out of town. So I want to stay with my aunt for a while to get stronger. And I said, oh, it was wonderful. And that's when I got into comedy, got back into comedy. And like I said, she became my manager.
Wow.
And helped me out. Yep.
In that situation, when you were sitting there waiting on the door, did you think it was your drug dealer?
No, honestly, no, because he already drove by and he could have stopped at the road because I was at the road next to my mailbox when he drove by, and he kept going. And I found out years later that he heard that I was sobering up, so he was driving by. He goes, "Oh man, I hope he doesn't wave me down. He's doing good. I don't want him buying anything off me." And he says, "I was proud of you for not wanting anything." I was like, "Oh, I wanted something. It was running through my head. I'm not gonna lie, I did, but I didn't move. I just stood there." And when he got down the road and past the corner, then that's when my heart started racing. It's like I had to go in house. But no, I didn't think it was him. I prayed and I asked for help. I said, please help me. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to put my family through that again. So that's the power of prayer. It's amazing what we can do when we ask for a little bit of help.
Oh yeah, you ask for one thing, you get a couple more. And I'm to ask you about Tennessee. Were you in Buffalo when this happened, or were you? And then you moved to Tennessee?
I was in that. Yes, that was here near Buffalo, and I moved to just outside of Tennessee Tech. There's Cookeville, Tennessee. It's in between Nashville and Knoxville, right in the middle, and it's home of Tennessee Tech.
Oh wow!
So when I was doing a lot of comedy shows, I did a lot of colleges and stuff. So, that was a lot of fun.
Tennessee has a big, I'm looking it up as we, is it Zany's? Is Zany's Comedy Club? Do you know which one that one is? Do you know a Zany's Comedy Club?
You're cutting out, I'm sorry.
Oh, do you know, a Zany's Comedy Club?
Oh, yeah.
I know that's like the big one in Tennessee.
Yes.
So was it,
yep.
I mean, I've heard some good things about it. Is it a good club down there?
Yeah, it was wonderful. Those people are so nice. I can't think of the guy's name that was running it, but a lot of the guys that I worked with years ago, they either retired or moved on. And you see, when I gave up comedy, my mother got sick, and I moved back home because I was literally on the road, and they never called me when I was on the road. I was literally on tour. And my brother called me up, and he goes, I have to tell you. Are you sitting down? I said, okay, I'm sitting down. He goes, Mom's sick. She has cancer. I said, okay, bad cancer or really bad cancer? And he says, really bad cancer. I said, okay. I said, okay. So 2 days later, I'm walking in the door at my mom's house, and she says, what are you doing here? And I said, so it's time to come home. She says, you didn't come home for me, did you? I smiled and I said, nope. Honestly, I came home for me. So I spent the last 2 years of my mom's life with her, helping her out and taking care of her. All of us kids literally moved back in the area, not with my mom, but back in the area. We all took care of my mom. All took.
Wow.
So it was time to go. And then when we got everything settled after she passed away, when I went back to go back out on the road, everybody that I knew died, retired, or passed, moved on to something else. So all the stuff that I worked so hard to get networking for years, they were all gone. I said I couldn't do it again. It was too hard the first time.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that again. And knowing how hard it was, I wasn't going to do that. Now, but with the internet, like we says, Aunt Beatrice, she gets shows because she says, well, you might not know who I am, but ask your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great way to do it, because when you ask the kids are like, Aunt Beatrice, they get all excited because she's so funny. She does these powwow skits where she's smoking a cigarette in these big old glasses, and she's like, Aunt Beatrice, I'll tell you what, you want to get a man, I'll tell you what you got to do. You got to get some tobacco, and then you go to the drum, offer some tobacco to the drum, and you say, you need a nice crow hop is what you need. And she's just so funny. It's like, oh, if you ever get a chance to watch her, Aunt Beatrice is. But I love the way she does it because it makes it simple. She doesn't have to sell them. She has their kids sell for them. Like, oh my God, she's coming. That's awesome. That's awesome. And she's got a small audience considering millions of people online, but she has a very hardcore, very, very niche audience that listens to her. Mostly powwowers, Indians from different races.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of us, and
yep.
We all got Facebook now, and
yep.
To what you said about like the kids, like that's what cereal has been doing for days. If you go in a cereal aisle and you look at the Frosted Flakes and the Lucky Charms, they're all looking down because the kids are the ones who say, Mom, can we get, some Lucky Charms for cereal? And, the parents go, okay, I'll just, I'll get them the cereal so they stop whining, And so I started looking at the cereal aisle. So if you go look, like they're all placed strategically to be like that. So next time you're in there, check it out. Like you'll see the cereal aisle and you'll see all the figures on the cereal boxes are looking down, like the honeybee on Honey Nut Cheerios, the tiger on Frosted Flakes.
Looking at the kids.
They're looking at the kids, and that's just our youth. It's they're impactful, and they can control a lot of things. And we say
it works.
Yeah, we say we're in charge of these little ones, but man, these little ones ask for an extra Klondike bar, and you don't know what to do after that.
Oh, it was a pleasure, but we should get off the phone now.
Yeah.
But I had such a wonderful time, bro. We got to talk on the phone, not recording, just talk sometime.
Yeah, I'm down. I mean, I'm just totally chilling most of the time, so I'd love to just, shoot the shit and hang out.
Okay.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for this podcast, and I'll link everything. And before we go, could you send me a picture of you onto my phone? So when I'm editing, I could have that up, like, when you're talking.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yep. But other than that, thank you so much. And this will be episode 70. So it will be posted within
70.
Yep. So, we'll be posted within either not next week, but the next week after.
Yeah.
All right. And I'll promote it, and I'll let you know when it's all live. So thanks, Dennis.
All right.
Really, mate. Yeah.
Mid-low.
I don't understand why they coming with their hands out. Little bitch, put your hands down. Now they come around, cause I'm the talk of the whole town. I remember I was so down. Now I'm selling out, whole crowds, hoes all around me. Money making honeys wanna have your babies. Gotta keep my head up, no condoms. Vibing to this moment, I focus on my problems. Can't say I'm back, cause I never left. Can't explain the way I feel, I know I'm about to flex. Who gon' be my record deal? Y'all was sitting on the bench. I was playing in the field, shooting to kill, Hollywood Hills. Show me where the love goes.
Shawty got me tripping.
Now I'm riding solo.
Shawty got me sipping.
I don't understand hoes.
Got me in my feelings.
I'ma be okay though. I don't understand why they coming with their hands out. Little bitch, put your hands down. Now they come around, cause I'm the talk of the whole town. I remember was so down. Now I'm selling out, whole crowds, hoes all around me. Money made them honeys wanna have your babies. Gotta keep my head up, no condoms. Vibing to this moment, I focus on my problems.
Focus on this moment, press the gas, we going. Shooting for the stars, driving fast cars. I waited, tell my mama I made it. I'ma leave it all behind, so baby, let's go.
Sometimes you gotta let it go.
No pit stop, got a bag ready for me.
Who's ready for me?
It's gonna be alright, it's gonna be okay. We can do this all night, we can do this all day.
Right.
So if I'm down for you, would you ride with me? You can take my heart, but don't make it bleed.
I don't understand why they coming with their hands out. Little bitch, put your hands down. Now they come around, cause I'm the talk of the whole town. I remember I was so down. Now I'm selling out, whole crowds, hoes all around me. Money make them honeys wanna have your babies. Gotta keep my head up, no condoms. Vibing to this moment, I focus on my problems.